The rumble came without warning, a deep, rolling thunder that echoed through the cavern like the growl of some ancient beast disturbed from slumber. Drar. Evelyn Hart was leading the group through a narrow passage, her sharp eyes scanning every shadow, every crack in the limestone walls. The black current was no longer a distant mystery, it was a living, breathing threat. As the first shards of stone began to fall, the explorers barely had time to react before a cascade of rocks tumbled down behind them, sealing off the path they had just traversed. Panic flared instantly. Shouts and gasps bounced off the cavern walls as the dust settled into a heavy, choking haze. Jonas Vega was the first to regain his composure, his rugged frame tense as he peered at the jagged blockade. "We're trapped," he said bluntly, his voice rough but steady. The rest of the team scrambled to assess their situation. Drata Annika Rao clutched her notebook tightly, her face pale, but determined. "Everyone, stay calm," Evelyn commanded, her voice cutting through the chaos like a beacon. "We need to organize and conserve our resources. Felix, check for injuries. Nina, assess our equipment. Marco, coordinate with Captain Grant, and Lena, see if they can establish a communication link outside." The group quickly settled into roles, their fear tempered by necessity. Felix moved efficiently among the team, tending to minor scrapes and calming the more distressed members. Nina inspected their gear, her brow furrowed as she tested batteries and radio signals. Outside the sealed cavern, the remaining members of the expedition raced to mount a rescue. Captain Elias Grant barked orders, his experience on treacherous waters translating into a steady hand under pressure. Lena Torres adjusted her camera briefly, capturing the stark reality of their predicament before focusing on relaying information. Inside the cramped space, tension simmered beneath the surface. Jonas paced restlessly, his impulsive nature chafing against Evelyn's methodical approach. "We can't just wait here," he muttered, glancing at the unstable debris. "I'm going to find another way out." Evelyn shook her head firmly. "No. We don't know what's beyond that rubble. We risk further cave-ins or losing each other in the dark. We stay put and wait for help." The clash of wills rippled through the group, a fracture not just in the rock but in their fragile unity. Yet beneath the conflict, a grudging respect began to form. Jonas grudgingly accepted the plan, while Evelyn allowed moments of flexibility, understanding the value of his physical prowess. As hours stretched on, the explorers took turns sharing stories, their voices weaving a fragile web of connection against the oppressive silence. Annika's insights into the ancient symbols, discovered earlier, offered distraction and hope, reminding them that they were part of a continuum of explorers who had faced the unknown before. Outside, Marco Silva negotiated with local authorities and arranged for specialized rescue teams to mobilize. Lena's reports brought the world's attention to their plight, her words capturing the raw human drama unfolding beneath the earth. Night fell, and the cavern grew colder. Evelyn huddled with the team, her leadership evolving from academic to guardian. She pushed aside her doubts and fears, focusing on the survival of her people. Every decision was weighed with precision, every moment a test of endurance. When a faint tapping was heard from beyond the rubble, a spark of hope ignited. Rescue efforts were underway, but the final escape remained uncertain. The black current had challenged them, fractured their group, but also revealed the strength hidden beneath their fears. The air inside the cavern was thick with dust and the faint scent of damp stone as the team pushed through the narrow opening, their movements cautious yet propelled by a shared surge of adrenaline. The cave-in had been sudden, a violent collapse that trapped half their group in a stifling pocket of rock and debris. But now, freed from the crushing weight of Earth, the survivors found themselves facing a discovery far greater than they had anticipated. Evelyn Hart's steady voice broke the fragile silence. "Stay close. The walls look at these markings." Jonas Vega, brushing dust from his rugged jacket, squinted into the darkness and then stepped forward, his boots echoing softly on the stone floor. "This isn't just a tunnel, it's a chamber. Annika Rao adjusted her glasses, her eyes scanning the intricate carvings that adorned the walls. The faded murals told stories in swirling patterns and cryptic symbols, hinting at a civilization that had thrived in this subterranean world long before any modern record. These inscriptions, Annika whispered, her fingers tracing a delicate script, they speak of the river's path, but also of a people who revered it and feared it. Marco Silva, standing near the entrance with his ever-present tablet, frowned. How do we know these artifacts won't be damaged if we stay here? We need to document and remove them for study. Lena Torres raised her camera, capturing the solemn expressions on their faces. We have to tell the world about this, she said softly. But at what cost? Evelyn stepped between them, her sharp eyes meeting Marco's. Marco, I understand the urgency, but these relics are part of a sacred history. We must tread carefully. The chamber was alive with stories carved into stone, depictions of rituals, daily life, and ominous warnings. Annika's voice grew steady as she began to translate the inscriptions aloud. When the waters rise and the earth trembles below, the guardians of the current shall fall. The river will claim all, shifting the fate of those who dwell within its embrace. A hush fell over the group as the weight of those words sank in. Jonas's jaw tightened. That sounds like a warning, maybe a record of a catastrophe. Annika nodded slowly. The river's course has always been unpredictable, but this suggests the civilization here was destroyed by its own waterway, by the very force we seek to understand. Evelyn's gaze hardened with resolve. This is why our work matters, to uncover the truth, to learn from the past, but also to respect it. As the team debated their next steps, the chamber seemed to close in around them, an ancient sentinel guarding secrets that had survived millennia. The black current was more than a river. It was a living force, intertwined with human history and the eternal flow of time. Outside, the distant sound of water echoed faintly, a reminder that their journey was far from over. The secrets in stone had revealed much, but the river's ultimate path remained shrouded in mystery. And with that, the explorers felt the weight of their discovery settle deep within their souls, a call to carry forward, with caution, courage, and respect for the unknown. The chamber's shadows danced as their torches flickered, and somewhere beyond the darkness, the black current flowed onward, relentless and eternal. But what awaited them next was a challenge none could yet foresee. The air inside the cavern was thick with moisture and tension. Flickering headlamps cast long, wavering shadows on the walls as the team paused at a fork in the tunnel, where the black current split into two restless streams. The water roared beneath their feet, a dark, swirling force that seemed almost alive, an unpredictable entity that defied human control. Jonas Vega's eyes gleamed with restless energy. His rugged features tightened with resolve, his instinct urging him forward. That way, he said sharply, pointing toward the narrower, less stable branch of the cavern. It's a shortcut, and it might bring us closer to the river's heart. Dra. Evelyn Hart stepped forward, her sharp eyes scanning the rock formations. That path is unstable, she warned, voice steady but strained. We don't know what's holding it up. We need to assess the risks before proceeding. Jonas shook his head, impatience flickering across his weathered face. We can't afford delays. Every moment counts, the current's shifting, and if we wait too long, we might lose our chance. Annika Rao adjusted her glasses nervously, glancing at the ancient symbols etched faintly into the cavern walls. Rushing could mean disturbing something precious and dangerous, she murmured. We need to be careful. Marco Silva, standing nearby with his tablet clutched tightly, frowned. Safety must come first. We can't gamble with lives for the sake of speed. Lena Torres lifted her camera, capturing the charged atmosphere, the clash of urgency and caution, the human frailty against nature's relentless flow. The tension was palpable, a current all its own. Against the murmurs of doubt, Jonas took a decisive step toward the narrow passage. I'm going. Before anyone could stop him, he disappeared into the gloom. The team exchanged worried glances. Evelyn's mind raced. She couldn't afford to lose control now. She followed swiftly, her boots echoing softly against wet stone. The passage was tight and treacherous. Water splashed around their ankles, the walls slick with algae and mineral deposits. Every step seemed to reverberate through the cavern, a fragile heartbeat in the vast underground. Suddenly, a low rumble shook the tunnel. Loose rocks trembled overhead. Jonas froze, eyes wide, as a cascade of debris thundered down. The team shouted warnings, scrambling away just as stones crashed onto the ground where they had stood moments before. Dust choked the air, the darkness deepened, and panic surged. Evelyn's voice cut through the chaos. "Stay calm! Move back now!" They retreated as quickly as safety allowed, hearts pounding, lungs burning. The narrow passage sealed behind them with a final, ominous clatter. Back in the wider cavern, the team gathered, shaken but intact. Jonas's jaw was clenched, frustration and guilt warring in his eyes. Evelyn stepped forward, her tone firm but measured. "This is why we have to work together, with caution. The black current isn't just a river, it's a force. It tests us and it punishes recklessness." Jonas looked away, the weight of responsibility settling heavily upon him. Anika moved beside Evelyn, her voice soft but resolute. "The river demands respect. We must listen to its flow, to each other." Marco nodded, relief mingled with concern. "We'll need stricter protocols. No more solo decisions." Lena lowered her camera, capturing the solemn faces around her. "This will be a turning point. The story isn't just about discovery, it's about survival and trust." As the dust settled, the team's fragile unity began to coalesce anew. The peril had exposed their vulnerabilities, but also the strength that could emerge from shared purpose. Later, the explorers found a quiet sanctuary beside a faintly glowing bioluminescent pool. The ethereal light danced on their wary faces, reflecting a fragile hope amid the darkness. Anika knelt, tracing delicate symbols on a nearby stone, whispering the words of a forgotten language. The river's secrets beckoned still, a promise and a warning intertwined. Evelyn watched her team, feeling the slow shift from tension to resolve. The black current flowed relentlessly onward, and so would they together, cautious but undaunted. Yet beneath the surface, current shifted once more, carrying mysteries deeper into the abyss. The journey was far from over. The black waters of the subterranean river whispered secrets that only the darkness could keep, somewhere deep beneath the earth. The explorers found themselves not only navigating the treacherous twists and turns of the black current, but also the uncharted currents of their own hearts and histories. The cavern, vast and silent except for the slow drip of water echoing off stone, seemed to close in on them, amplifying every breath and every thought. Jonas Vega stood at the edge of the river bank, his gaze fixed on the inky surface of the water. The flickering light from the headlamps painted ghostly reflections that danced like phantoms on the swirling currents. His rugged features, usually so full of blunt confidence and dry humor, were now taut and solemn. He was alone in his thoughts, yet painfully aware that the others were close by, their muffled voices and shuffling feet a quiet reminder of their presence. He breathed deeply, the stale cave air filling his lungs, and the memories came unbidden. The mission had been a disaster, a failed dive in hostile waters. Friends lost and lives broken. The faces of comrades he couldn't save haunted him like shadows beneath the surface of the river. Guilt was a relentless tide, pulling him under with every step he took deeper into the black current's domain. Yet here in this darkness, the past was inescapable, as real as the stone beneath his feet. "Jonas," a soft voice broke the silence. It was Anika Rao, her slender form stepping carefully towards him. Her glasses caught the glow from the lamps, reflecting tiny sparks of light. "You were not alone in carrying heavy memories." Jonas turned, offering a faint, wary smile. "Easy for you to say," he muttered. "You've got your dusty books and ancient ghosts to haunt you." Anika smiled gently, but her eyes held a deep sadness. "My family's history is tied to this very darkness. Explorers like us, they vanished chasing legends beneath the earth. It's a legacy I can't run from." The words lingered between them, a fragile bridge connecting two souls shaped by loss and longing. Anika's voice lowered as she reached into her pack and pulled out a cracked, faded tablet inscribed with symbols worn by time. "These are their stories," she said softly, tracing a finger over the ancient markings. "They remind me why we do this, to find truth, to honor those who came before." Jonas looked at the tablet, the flickering light illuminating the delicate carvings. For a moment, the expedition's perils felt less like isolated threats and more like echoes of those who had braved this darkness long ago. Meanwhile, Evelyn Hart sat nearby, her usual composed demeanor unsettled. The leader had always been the pillar of scientific rigor and calm rationality. But now, as the weight of the journey pressed down, cracks appeared beneath her stoic exterior. Her sharp eyes, normally so perceptive and steady, flickered with a brief hesitation. She pulled her journal close, fingers trembling as she scribbled notes, her mind torn between the pursuit of knowledge and the growing fear for her team's survival. The cavern's silence was oppressive, wrapping around her like a shroud. The discovery of the ancient ruins and cryptic messages had ignited her curiosity. But the dangers lurking in the shadows had ignited a different fire, one of doubt and dread. A sudden noise, the distant rumble of shifting rock, jolted her from her thoughts. She stood quickly, her voice firm but tinged with vulnerability. "We can't afford to let fear control us. Our mission depends on every one of us staying strong." Lena Torres, ever the optimist and chronicler of the journey, approached with her camera slung around her neck. "We've come too far to turn back now," she said, her smile a soothing balm. "And sometimes it's the stories we share that keep us moving forward." That evening, the team gathered around a small campfire etched into a wider cavern chamber. The flickering flames cast long shadows on the rough walls, the warmth a stark contrast to the chilling darkness beyond. One by one, they shared fragments of their past's confessions and memories that had long been buried beneath layers of pride and silence. Jonas told of the mission that had failed him, the faces he couldn't forget, and the guilt that still gnawed at his soul. Anika spoke of her ancestors, explorers swallowed by the earth, their fates intertwined with the river's mysteries. Hart revealed the story of her mentor's disappearance, the spark that had ignited her obsession with the black current. Even Marco Silva and Lena Torres opened up, grounding the expedition in a shared humanity that transcended their individual roles. Through their stories, the team wove a fragile tapestry of trust and empathy, binding them together in the face of the unknown. The cavern's oppressive silence was broken, replaced by a quiet understanding that the greatest dangers might not only lie in the river's depths, but within their own hearts. As the fire flickered low, Hart looked around at her team, flawed, haunted, yet resilient. She knew the journey ahead would test them in ways no map or scientific theory could predict. But in this moment, amid the weight of the past and the flickering glow of shared vulnerability, they found a renewed strength. The black current flowed on, relentless and inscrutable, but the explorers were no longer alone against it. Their pasts, once burdens to bear in solitude, had become the foundation for a collective resolve, a current of hope flowing through the darkness. And as the shadows deepened, and the river whispered its endless secrets, a question lingered. Could they carry the weight of their histories and still find the courage to face the perilous journey ahead? The cavern seemed to hold its breath in answer, waiting for the next step, the next choice, the next story to be told. The night deepened, and the explorers settled into uneasy rest, the echoes of their confessions weaving through their dreams. Outside, the black current moved silently, indifferent to the fears and hopes it carried within its dark embrace. The labyrinth of shadows awaited them like a living entity, its crystalline walls shimmering with an ethereal glow that both mesmerized and unsettled the expedition. Evelyn Hart stood at the threshold, her sharp eyes scanning the translucent tunnel ahead. The light from their headlamps fractured against the angular surfaces, scattering prismatic colors that danced across the rushing water below. The river's flow here was capricious, sometimes a gentle ripple, sometimes a sudden surge carving a path through the glittering maze. Jonas Vega moved forward first, his experience as a cave diver evident in every measured step. The rugged lines of his face tightened with concentration as he gauged the shifting currents, his athletic frame poised to react at a moment's notice. Behind him, Annika Rao adjusted her glasses, her gaze flicking between the inscriptions etched faintly on the walls and the subtle changes in the river's movement. The air was cool and thick with moisture, carrying the distant, rhythmic roar of the subterranean current. "Stay close," Evelyn instructed, her voice steady despite the undercurrent of tension. "The black current here is unpredictable. We need to move carefully." Lena Tor's camera in hand captured the surreal beauty of the moment, the way the crystalline surfaces bent light into kaleidoscopic patterns, the interplay of shadow and shimmer that seemed almost otherworldly. "It's like walking through a cathedral made of water and light," she murmured, or coloring her tone. The team advanced, their movements synchronized in the dim glow. Suddenly, the river's flow shifted violently, a swirling eddy forming around a cluster of sharp, jagged crystals protruding from the water. Jonas signaled a halt, his hands raised. "Strong current ahead," he warned. "We'll have to navigate around it or risk getting caught." Evelyn stepped forward, eyes scanning the formation. "There's a narrow channel to the left," she said, pointing, "but it's tight." "Nina, can you check the stability?" Nina Patel knelt by the water's edge, her fingers tracing the crystalline edges. "They look stable, but if we disturb them too much, we could trigger a collapse," she cautioned. "We need to be precise." The group prepared for the challenge, tension thick in the air. One by one, they edged through the narrow passage, muscles taut as the river threatened to sweep them against the razor-sharp walls. Jonas took the lead, his quick reflexes steering them safely past the hazard. Once clear, Annika's voice broke the silence. "Look at this," she said, gesturing toward a series of delicate inscriptions etched into the crystal nearby. The symbols were intricate, their meaning obscure yet compelling. Evelyn stepped closer, her scientific curiosity ignited. "Ancient warnings," Annika explained softly. "These markings indicate traps and safe passages." They were part of a language long forgotten. The team gathered around as Annika carefully deciphered the symbols, her fingers trembling slightly. "This one here," she said, pointing to a cluster of glyphs near a concealed mechanism, warns of a collapsing tunnel triggered by disturbance. "We must tread lightly." Marco Silva, who had been quietly observing, furrowed his brow. "These ancient defenses, they were designed to keep intruders out. We re not just fighting nature here, we re-up against the legacy of a civilization that revered this river." The realization deepened the weight of their mission. They were not simply explorers, they were intruders in a sacred realm, navigating the delicate balance between discovery and desecration. As they progressed, the river's flow continued to shape their path. Each bend revealed new challenges, unstable rock formations, sudden drops, and hidden whirlpools that tested their resolve. The water's relentless movement was a constant reminder that the black current was not a passive entity, but an active force, indifferent to their presence. During a brief respite, Evelyn gathered the team. "This labyrinth is a crucible," she said, eyes gleaming with determination. "Our survival depends on understanding the river's flow and respecting the warnings left behind. We move forward together, or we don't move at all." The team nodded, their earlier conflicts subdued by the immediacy of their shared peril. Jonas cracked a rare smile. "Lead the way, Doctor. I'm ready." With renewed purpose, they plunged deeper into the labyrinth, the crystalline walls closing around them like the pages of an ancient, untold story. The river's song grew louder, a haunting melody of time and tide, danger and discovery. In the depths, shadows lengthened and twisted, challenging every step. Yet amidst the uncertainty, the explorers found a strange harmony. The flow of the river mirrored the flow within themselves, fear giving way to courage, doubt to resolve, isolation to unity. As they rounded a final bend, a sudden shift in the current propelled them into a wider cavern. Here, the river's waters shimmered with an almost supernatural clarity, reflecting the crystal canopy overhead. The trap that had guarded this sanctuary was disarmed, its mechanism silent. Evelyn exhaled slowly. "We've made it," she said, voice tinged with awe and relief. But this is only the beginning. The labyrinth of shadows had tested them, shaped them, and drawn them irrevocably into the black current's eternal flow. Ahead lay deeper mysteries, greater dangers, and the chance to glimpse the river's ultimate secret. And so, with hearts pounding and spirits steeled, the explorers pressed onward into the unknown, the river carrying them forward relentless, mysterious, eternal.